Greetings to all the students learning from this video session. This is the second unit of immunology paper for the 5th semester biotechnology students. In the unit 2, we are going to learn in detail about antigens and antibodies. I am Dr. G. Hema, Faculty of Biotechnology at Maharani Science College for Women, Bengaluru. In the previous unit, we learnt about the history and scope of immunology, the different types of immunity, what are all the different components of these different types of immunity, all those cells involved in immune system, and the different organs of immune system, the primary and the secondary lymphoid organs. In this unit 2, we are going to learn in detail about antigens, antibodies, and the different interactions between antigens and antibodies. So this session 7 is going to detail about antigens. Antigens are those molecules that can evoke an immune response. Usually, antigens are non-self or foreign molecules. The antigens are capable of being identified by the B cell receptors, that is antibodies, or by the T cell receptors processed by the helper and cytotoxic T cells. Though for everyday scientific purpose as well as for general research, we use the term antigens synonymously with the word immunogens. Immunogens are a little different from antigens. In fact, immunogens are the molecules that can evoke an immune response and also interact with the end products of the immune response, that is antibodies and T cell receptors. Whereas antigens can only interact with the end products but by themselves are not capable of evoking an immune response. As such, the students need to understand that clearly the difference between antigens and immunogens and antigenicity and immunogenicity. To be very short, we can say that immunogens are complete antigens. That means they can induce an immune response as well as interact with the end molecules of the immune response. Whereas antigens are not capable of inducing the immune response but can only interact with the antibodies or T cell receptors. So we also can say that all immunogens are antigens but all antigens are not immunogens. Though there is such clear difference between antigens and immunogens, it is very important to also remember that for everyday scientific purposes and day-to-day practices, the word antigens is used to refer to immunogens also. Let us understand some few important terms regarding these antigens. Epitope. Epitope is the structural unit of an antigen which actually spatially interacts with the antigen binding site of the antibody. There is a complementarity between epitope and the antigen binding region of the antibody, that is the CDR region or the variable region. An antigen may possess several number of epitopes as well as several different types of epitopes. Based on the number of epitopes an antigen possesses, the valency is determined. So antigenic valency of an antigen is the number of epitopes presented by that antigen. A monovalent or univalent antigen is one with a single epitope. Similarly, there can be bivalent antigens, multivalent antigens, so on. Then coming to an important process called as antigen processing. This is a process where larger antigens are endocytosed by certain different types of cells and fragmented inside the cell, and these fragments are then presented to the helper T cells or the cytotoxic T cells. So this process is called as antigen processing. Sometimes it is also referred to as antigen presentation. Then Which cells are capable of carrying out this antigen processing? There are antigen processing cells or antigen presenting cells present in an individual which can process these antigens. They are of basically two types: professional antigen presenting cells and non-professional antigen presenting cells. Professional antigen presenting cells are having the major function of antigen processing and presentation. They are all phagocytic cells. For example, dendritic cells, macrophages, neutrophils, and even B cells. They are all professional APCs. Their major function, except B cells, is to phagocytose pathogens and antigens, break them into smaller pieces or fragment them by endocytosis process, and then present it to the T cells. This presentation happens after those fragments of the antigen are complexed with major histocompatibility molecules on the surface of the antigen presenting cells, and then they are presented to the T cells. The other category of antigen processing and presenting cells are called as non-professional APCs. These have major functions that are different from phagocytosis. They have their own specified functions. For example, the glial cells of brain. But when those cells get infected by an intracellular parasite or a virus, or if those cells get affected by a mutation, then they are capable of doing this antigen processing and presentation also. So they are termed as non-professional APCs. For example, the glial cells of brain. Then coming to another important type of cells, they are target cells. Target cells are those cells which are recognized by cytotoxic T cells after they are stimulated by antigen presentation. Now these target cells can be of two types. One is altered self cell. An altered self cell is a cell that is belonging to the host itself but has undergone some kind of mutation or a change. Or a target cell can also be a infected cell. Usually those which are infected by intracellular pathogens or viruses. So such cells are called as target cells. These target cells are identified by cytotoxic T cells and eliminated. So these are all some important terms which are in relation to antigens. Now let us have a look at what are the features of a strong antigen and the recipient biological system to evoke a strong immune response. Now, this is very important because only based on such understanding can we design vaccines and treatment strategies using antigens and antibodies. Especially the design of vaccines very much needs this kind of understanding. Also, when researchers are producing several different types of antibodies for various research purposes, then again these factors play a very important role. So, usually molecules with a mass of around 10,000 daltons or above are strong antigens. Those ranging between 5,000 to 10,000 daltons also can evoke an immune response, but less than that the molecules will be weakly antigenic. They cannot induce a strong immune response. So molecular mass is an important factor here. Then the foreignness of the substance, that is, as the phylogenetic distance between two species under consideration increases, the antigenicity of molecules of one species in the other species increases. For example, between a human and ape, the phylogenetic distance is less. As such, the molecules isolated from an ape cannot be very strong antigens in humans. Whereas, if the two species, for example a human and a cow or a human and a goat, which are distantly related, then the antigenicity of molecules between these two species is comparatively stronger. So, as the distance between two species under consideration increases, the antigenicity also increases. Molecules with a complex structure and chemical property are more strong in antigenicity. And the antigenicity ranges like this. Between the four major biomolecules, proteins are the most antigenic substances, followed by carbohydrates, followed by fatty acids and nucleic acids. Nucleic acids are the least antigenic biomolecules since their structure is more or less similar between all the existing living forms, maybe starting from a unicellular to the multicellular organisms. Then, those antigens which are highly susceptible to antigen processing are more strong in their antigenicity. Similarly, a recipient biological system induces an immune response based on its own genotype. Then, antigen dosage matters a lot in the strength of the immune response. Repeated dosages, the interval between the dosages, giving the booster dose, and the amount of antigen that is introduced during the dosages, all of these are very important in inducing a strong immune response, and these vary with the type of epitopes and the antigens. Then the mode of administration also plays an important role. Certain antigens are effective when they are introduced intramuscularly. Certain are effective when they are given orally. There is difference between the polio vaccine and the diphtheria vaccine. So the mode of administration plays an important role in the strength of the immune response. And the last factor is use of adjuvants. Adjuvants are molecules or substances which are added or mixed with the antigens to increase the shelf life of the antigenic substance in the recipient biological system. So there are different types of adjuvants which are used to enhance the strength of the immune response. Now let us understand what exactly is an immune response. There are two types of immune responses as we already discussed in the previous unit, B cell mediated and T cell mediated. To very simply represent a B cell mediated immune response, B cells, especially the mature naive B cells which carry membrane bound antibodies, when get stimulated by an immunogen, give rise to effector B cells, which are plasma cells and memory cells. The plasma B cells in turn give rise to antibodies. They release millions of antibodies into the fluids of the tissues and body. The memory B cells are smaller in size and are stored in the body for a long time, and they come into picture when there is a secondary or succeeding exposure to the same antigen. So this image also represents a B cell mediated immune response. See, we can see that these shapes are representative pictures for the complementarity between the B cell mediated the B cell bound antibody and the antigen. Only those antigens which are complementary to the antibody interact with that particular clone of B cell, and only that clone of B cell gets stimulated and proliferates. So in this image we can see that among all the lot of B cells that are present here, only those B cells carrying an antibody complementary to the antigen gets stimulated and undergoes proliferation. So one clone of memory cells and a clone of plasma B cells is produced. Plasma B cells synthesize millions of antibody molecules and release into the circulatory system. So this is a B cell mediated immune response. In case of a T cell mediated response, the membrane bound T cell receptor, when comes across a complementary immunogen that is presented by the antigen presenting cell, the students should remember that T cells can identify and interact only those antigens presented by the antigen presenting cell. So after such antigenic stimulation, effector T cells are produced. The effector T cells are cytotoxic T cells and helper T cells, and also memory T cells are also produced, which come into action during a subsequent exposure to the same pathogen or antigen. Now we already have learnt about the action or the mode of action of these TC and T helper cells. This is a representative image where a macrophage is phagocytosing a pathogen and breaking it down into smaller fragments. Within the macrophage, the antigen or the epitope is complexed with the MHC molecule and presented on the surface of the macrophage. This is called as antigen presentation. So a T cell with T cell receptors, when it is stimulated by such a antigen presented in complex with MHC molecules, it undergoes stimulation or proliferation, and the cells secrete cytokines which in turn activate the different types of immune cells as well as destroy the target cells, those cells that are actually responsible for the infection in this case. So this is a T cell mediated immune response. Now, there lie certain differences between the epitopes that are recognized by the antibodies and the T cell receptors. So these are also very important when designing vaccines and treatment strategies. So those epitopes recognized by B cells are soluble in nature. Generally they are not membrane bound, so they are soluble. They are generally located on the surface of the antigen or the pathogen. They are mostly composed of hydrophilic amino acids. They are destroyed on denaturation of the protein antigen. They also do not require any processing for inducing the immune response, whereas those epitopes recognized by the T cells are generally not soluble. So soluble antigens can't be recognized by the T cells. Only those antigens that are presented as complex with MHC molecules are recognized by the T cells. Most of the epitopes recognized by T cell receptors are located in the internal regions of the antigen or the pathogen. That is why they are not destroyed on denaturation and they require processing for inducing a antigenic stimulation or response. Based on the type of processing, we can also classify antigens into two types. They are exogenous antigens or endogenous antigens. So exogenous antigens undergo endocytic processing pathway. They combine with class II MHC of the antigen presenting cells, whereas endogenous antigens undergo cytosolic pathway of antigen processing. So in the cytosolic processing pathway, which occurs in case of endogenous antigens, the antigen arises within the antigen presenting cell. It is not of external origin, rather it arises within the cytosol of the cell that is presenting the antigen. That is why it is called as cytosolic processing pathway. So these cytosolic antigens may be a result of mutations or may be a result of intracellular pathogens or viruses. So the cytosolic microbe may release certain proteins into the cytosol of the host cell. Now these proteins, the microbial proteins, are carried into the endoplasmic reticulum of that host cell, where they are complexed with the class I MHC molecules, and then they are transported to the surface membrane. This is the surface membrane of the affected cell, which also is acting as the antigen presenting cell in this case, and this complex displayed on the surface of the antigen presenting cell or the infected cell is recognized by the receptor of a cytotoxic T cell with the help of the CD8 molecule and the T cell receptor. So this is the processing pathway in endogenous antigens which stimulate cytotoxic T cells. In case of exogenous antigens, the antigens do not arise within the antigen presenting cell. Instead, they gain entry into the APC through the process of phagocytosis or endocytosis. That is why the name endocytic processing pathway. So we can see here that the external or exogenous pathogen or microbe is being engulfed by the antigen presenting cell. This is the antigen presenting cell and is digested in the endocytic vesicle, and those fragments are then combined in the endoplasmic reticulum with class II MHC molecules. Now the complex between class II MHC and the fragment are then displayed on the surface of the antigen presenting cell. Now this complex is recognized by the CD4 of a helper T cell along with the help of T cell receptor. So, exogenous antigens can induce a helper T cell mediated immune response, and it is important to remember that they are combined with class 2 MHC molecules. Now, other important concepts with relation to antigens are adjuvants. We saw that adjuvants are used to enhance the strength of an immune response. Adjuvants generally are comprising of mineral oils which act as a carrier and stabilizer for the antigenic protein, and also killed bacterial cells like Bordetella pertussis. So these stimulate the immune system in a non-specific manner. So there are different types of adjuvants like Franz complete adjuvant and Franz incomplete adjuvant. These are very important in enhancing the shelf life of the antigen in the recipient biological system, as well as causing a slow release of the antigen in the biological system. Autoantigens are those molecules which belong to the host itself. So the self molecules, when recognized as antigens, are termed as autoantigens. Alloantigens are those molecules which can evoke an immune response among individuals of the same species. For example, the blood group antigens and the CD molecules. Though they are present in all the members of the species, due to allelic differences, these molecules of one individual can induce an immune response in the other individuals of the same species. Such antigens are called as alloantigens. Sometimes they are also referred to as isoantigens. Haptens are small molecules which by themselves are not capable of inducing an immune response. They can induce an immune response when they are complexed with larger molecules or carrier particles. Superantigens are those molecules which induce the immune response in a non-specific manner. They trigger an exaggerated immune response. For example, the diphtheria toxin. Cryptotopes are hidden epitopes which are not exposed until and unless the antigen is completely fragmented. So, cryptotopes are hidden epitopes. CD antigens are those molecules which are present in all the members of a species and are helpful in cell typing. CD stands for cluster of differentiation. So, identification of these CD molecules present on the cell surface of a cell, we can classify the cell. For example, CD4 molecules are present in T helper cells. Cytotoxic T cells possess CD8 molecules, and natural killer cells exhibit CD16 molecules. So, CD antigens are cluster of differentiation antigens, and they are important in typing of the cells. To summarize, in this session, we learnt about properties of antigens, factors influencing the strength of an immune response, those with respect to the antigen as well as with respect to the recipient biological system. We learnt about the different modes of immune response mediated by B cells and T cells. We also learnt about different types of antigen processing. I advise the students to read these references for a thorough understanding of all these concepts. Thank you.